What's your biggest flex that you'll never tell anyone? Deaf person here, who wears hearing aids and relies heavily on lip reading. I get excited on the extremely rare occasions I can figure out a spoken phrase without any lip reading. It almost never happens. Or when I recognize a song I know, but there's no point in bragging because other people will just think I'm not that deaf and make less of an effort to face me speak clearly. Lol. I was quoted on some literary website one time for something I said off the cuff in an argument. I also got to play a few shows with some of my favorite bands of all time. But I'm so far removed from that music scene now that no one I know would ever care about it except for me. When I was 15 I won a scholarship to study ballet in Russia. It was amazing. I bought some then relatively worthless Apple stock because I thought I'd be able to eBay the stock certificate with the rainbow Apple logo when the company went out of business. My investment guy just thinks I'm really clever. I've not corrected him. Do you have a picture of the certificate to post? I like looking at older certificates. Not too long ago somebody posted one of Disney. Wish they still did that. I too like looking at certificates but only in person. If could mail it to me that would be great. I am on the top page of the high scores for runecrafting in the game Old School RuneScape. How did you have time to write this comment? Shouldn't you be grinding? I have a friend who plays RS on multiple accounts. I once saw him playing 4 RS games at once, while playing a completely different game on another screen. And, browsing Reddit on the third. I believe he's getting an ADHD test soon. I was in the grocery store and saw an older woman standing in the aisle comparing what was in her cart to what was in her wallet, obviously counting to see if she could afford everything. Based on her body language as she walked away I could tell that the answer was no. So I took a 20 out and walked up to her and said, ma'am, and you were over there just a second ago, this fell out of your wallet. I handed her the bill and just walked away so she wouldn't be embarrassed if she figured out I was lying. I did hear her say thank you, so I half turned and told her you're welcome, have a nice night. It was only $20, but I think it made a difference to her, and that felt amazing. I raised $100,000 for a scholarship fund in the memory of my deceased twin brother. Since that time we've given away over 200 scholarships. I'm sorry about your brother, but it's amazing you were able to help so many people. 3. I discovered, verified, and reported a critical security flaw in a US Army computer system, which was then quickly patched. https imga.com of wapamil. Seems especially relevant these days, though it was over a year ago. For future reference, on the off chance that you ever find something similar, Dodd actually has a hacker one page, Korean here, please go on. Of course I'm from the south, so please go on. I keep light up sketches under my bed to walk around the house at night, you genius. In my public speaking class I had to give a speech on procrastination. I wrote the speech an hour before class. In my feedback notes I was told I had great preparation. The expert. This reminds me that for our final speech in my public speaking class in college, we had to hit the 3-minute mark to get full points for length. I wrote a fake graduation speech the night before that was consistently 30 seconds too short, but otherwise pretty good. So I got to class early before the professor on the first day of speeches and told everyone who was there that I would volunteer to go first if they clapped like hell the first time I said a year in my speech. I wanted them to do it so that my speech would run long, and the longer mine ran the fewer people had to give their speech that day. So it was a win-win. Professor came in about 30 seconds before class started, as usual, and was totally oblivious. I volunteered to go first, got up and started my speech, and made a point of drawing out and welcome to the class of 1998. I was half convinced it wouldn't work at all, but oh my god did it turn out beautifully. The class erupted in cheers and applause and I felt like I'd just won $1 million. The professor was so startled that he almost fell out of his seat, and it was a solid 1-2 minutes of cheering, which is a long time, before he got everyone to shut up and let me finish the speech. I ended up getting a 98 on the speech and had several people try and copy the cheers, with varying degrees of success. It sounds fake as hell half the times I try to tell it, but definitely one of my favorite memories from college. The most believable and then everyone clapped story I've read so far. The beginning of my English course one year, our teacher told us that we needed to put in the work and spread it out over the deadlines because you can't write a beautiful essay the night before it's due. I did our final project the night before it was due, got 96%, and told the teacher I'd done it all the night before. She was a good teacher though, thanks Janet. Had a class where the professor was pissed that everyone did really bad on an essay and was yelling at the class. He said that aside from one person who got a 97%, he was disappointed with everyone there. I had the 97%. Similar thing happened to me in an English class junior year of high school. Assigned some book, Maybe to Kill a Mockingbird, and I read it like 5 times before the exam. Teacher said that he curved it to the highest score and no one had ever gotten a 100% in all his years of having the test. Just before he started passing the tests back, he asked me how many times I read the book. I was shy and quiet in high school, so having every eye on me sucked. But anyways, he said he was impressed and I ended up getting extra credit on it because he curved it to the next highest score. I never get bored. Ever. It's a useful superpower when I'm stuck in certain situations. I'm never interested. I've been clean 6 months off heroin for the first time in 5 years. I saw Elton John in Vegas. Red Piano Tour. During Benny and the Jets. I can whistle extremely loudly. I nailed the whistle part that is on live version of the song that plays on the radio. He smiled. I saw him live once while he unfortunately was battling a bad flu. Still sounded effing amazing though. And at one point he turned around to throw up in a bucket behind the piano. We were in the seats sort of behind the stage. Supposed to be the cheap seats, but he always turned around and acknowledged us, so it was great. And just cheered as loud as we could to show support, and he laughed and put his finger up to his mouth as if to say SSH. It's a secret. Add props to him for still performing even though he was sick enough to throw up. At one point I could sing along perfectly to We Didn't Start the Fire. I still know most of the words, but I'm always so embarrassed to sing in front of other people, lol. I have enough old, valuable Magic the Gathering cards to buy a car. A new, really nice car. I don't tell anyone IRL because they're from when I was young and collected them, and my current social circle would think it's kid nerd stuff and wouldn't understand. Doesn't get me down, though. Current plan is to hold on to them until they go up enough over time to match my mortgage balance, then use them to pay off my house. Consider a safety deposit box. Floods, fires, mold, etc. can really kill your valuables. They are in a safe location. I have a no gag reflex. This will go to my grave. Married man with 3 kids. How did you find out? It was just a phase. We don't talk about that. I dropped a fry from my mouth and slapped it to try and save it. It landed back in the box. I lived with my grandparents my whole life, who lived in a small little house across the street from a big fancy neighborhood development. They lived in the same house for 40 years before the development. It was a very bad hill on a busy road with the neighborhood entrance at the bottom of the hill, which was across the street from our house. Me and my grandpa would pull people out of wrecks all the time. Saved a bunch of lives, but sadly saw over 10 people die on that hill growing up. The big fancy people in that neighborhood would always bring us food and gifts. They called my grandpa the gatekeeper. Me and my girlfriend created in the past a YouTube channel for kids, playing with toys using only our hands and voices. We had videos hitting 300k plus views, but we uploaded few videos, like 10 videos, because our priorities changed and we stopped. But we were still able to make several $100s from them, and the videos still generate some money today after many years. I think if we had continued with that, maybe we would be able to make a lot of money. I regret we didn't keep uploading more videos. Do you know that random, intuitive ideas you have sometimes? Pay attention to them. Your DPU is smarter than yourself sometimes. I intentionally don't step on ants just because they're cool. I saw a lizard in the middle of a busy road. I bent down on the side of the road and called for it as I put my hands out, and he ran straight into my arms. I carried him to safety and didn't think anything of it until I heard a stranger behind me go, "Did y'all see that she's a lizard whisperer." Man, I wish there was another witness because I bet I looked cool. I saved a baby squirrel this same exact way. I didn't think about how crazy it was that the squirrel came running and hiding in my jacket till later that day. 4-lane busy road, and its mom was roadkill in the middle of it, and it was frantically investigating its mom as cars drove by. Still breaks my heart. Pro tip for anyone else in this situation. Lots of animals have maternal instincts for any young. If the mother is dead, try and find a live squirrel. show it the baby, and place the baby in a place it can get to it. Not gonna work every time, but it's more likely to survive if it's got an adult present. Interest BBC article on why my lifelong best friend's mom was a lover of reptiles. She used to have a broom in the back of her Mazda to tow stubborn snapping turtles across the road, notoriously rescued countless animals. Reading this made my heart happy. I couldn't help but picture her at the side of the road cheering you on. RIP to an amazing lady that encouraged children to look beyond the scaly to see the wonderful. Cheers to you for helping random critters that cross your path. I ran over a half marathon at night for 5 months every day. I shouldn't be proud because that was my lowest point mentally, but I was. Eater. Jesus, I went to sleep and woke up to 80 not ifs. Thanks. I wanted to add that it was because of an obsession with exercise. For those who were confused as to why I don't want to be proud of it, it wasn't healthy and fed up my body for a little while. You sound like a close friend of mine that does a lot of night running due to insomnia. My biggest flex I keep quiet is that I made right about $15,000 playing a video game semi-professionally. Now is the time where people think stuff like that is cool, but 2 years ago when it was happening I got made fun of by my girlfriend the one time I mentioned it. This is an XGF as to her making money playing video games was lame, but sex with other guys was still cool to her. I ended that faux relationship. Hate to break it to you, but that was cool 2 years ago and your girlfriend was just cruel. Who makes fun of someone for making $15K from something as fun as video games? Woman in my office had a fairly long piece of TP attached to her shoe and I stepped on it and detached it from her shoe. I felt like a superhero. I still feel like a superhero about it. Bless people like you. I once had a server purposefully drop something next to our table, just so she could have an excuse to bend over and grab the toilet paper off of my shoe. I still think about her from time to time. One time I was taking an order at a table back in the day at Chili's. The woman on the end kind of jostled her purse and something fell out. Without thinking or looking I bent to pick it up for her. Looked at the object as I handed it to her. It was a dildo. I'm on level 4000 in Candy Crush. You are worse than my mom, but she's strangely proud. I'm on 8126. I have a problem. I should have put a serious tag on this. As a kid, saved a kid from ongoing child abuse by his parents, was staying over there and had met them only briefly due to them being one of several families hosting us inner city kids out in the rich suburbs while we worked with their kids on a local theater production. This was decades ago for your information. Well, it didn't take the whole week we were in town for me to realize how scared he was, and despite feeling guilty about waiting to report his stories until after our trip, I was told that his parents were investigated soon after and he was moved to other family. I don't know. Feels like a flex and also a tragedy at the same time, since who knows if he ended up any better off. I hope so. When I was in high school we did a toy drive with our homeroom classes around the holidays where each class was assigned a family in need to donate money to or buy toys for. By the last day almost none of the toys had been bought from the kids' lists. We just collected a modest chunk of money for the family. I went home and told my mom that I didn't need anything, but I would like to get some of those things the kids asked for. My mom and dad talked. They'd both grown up poor and knew the money we'd collected would probably be used on necessities, not toys. So my mom and I went out and came back home with about $300 worth of toys the kids had asked for. I brought them in early before school started and submitted them and the receipts for them to my homeroom teacher. Later on, one of my classmates, who I had great disdain for ever since the 3rd grade when he blatantly stole my new pencil, came in and announced he was making the biggest contribution of our class with a $40 donation. The teacher made eye contact with me, but I remained neutral and shrugged, so the teacher didn't correct him, just smiled and said thank you to him. I figure he needed that affirmation more than me, and I never liked being center of attention anyway. You are more humble than I could ever be. Freaking power move. I love this. A true moment in your life that probably paved the way for your moral compass to be truly legit AF in your adult life. When my girlfriend and I worked at the same bar, I threw a coaster at her like a frisbee. It arced over her and like 20 customers only to land perfectly on the neat stack of other coasters like 50 feet away. It was so effing cool, but nobody noticed except one customer who I later had to kick out for taking a nap on the bar. No point in telling anybody, but I look back fondly on that moment. I saw a guy throw a dart once and hit the backside of a dart already on the board. He was standing really far away in an attempt at flexing, and achieved way harder than he ever intended to. We had camera phones and took pictures, but nobody believed the story anyway. He was really let down that I was the only one who noticed, so I kinda understand this story on a spiritual level. I'm sure your toss was amazing. I once hit a golf ball from 30 feet away into a sand trap, where it bounced off a rake and over an embankment, striking the flag and falling directly into the hole, which I could not see from where I took the shot. There was only one witness, and nobody else believed us because it was so unlikely. I secretly enjoy everyone's shock when they first meet my wife. I'm not insanely attractive. I'm a nerdy scientist. My wife is a doctor. She's funny, driven. She's smarter than me. She's 5 feet 9 inches and could very well be a model. In fact, she's been approached numerous times to move to Nick. We've known each other since 2nd grade. Started dating in college. My high school college friends are still baffled that I casually married the most attractive girl we knew in high school college. Because we both have insanely busy schedules, we can go months or years without meeting each other's co-workers. My favorite reaction from mine is "That's your wife, Dart," and I'm sure it's vice versa for her. I wrote a popular and successful fanfic years and years ago. I still live on that high. Ebony Darkness Dementia Ravenway, is that you? No, I wrote "Pounded in the Bud" by my own butt. Paid off 40k in debt during quarantine due to no more daycare costs for 3 kids, and better paying job for the wife. Also dropped body fat from 14% to 7% using my getaway home gym while everyone was complaining about the quarantine. 15. Went from having one family meal a week to almost daily. I don't tell anyone this obviously because there are people going through tough times, especially family and close friends, and I can empathize with that as it hasn't been completely smooth and there were some stressful moments. But I am proud of what my wife and I were able to do in a relatively short amount of time, but haven't shared any of this at the risk of alienating anyone. I made a Minecraft tutorial video when I was 15 that got 20k views. What was the tutorial about? Minecraft up. Stop drinking knows, but in real life no one really knows. I'll be 4 years sober in March. 42F. Very happy. Not going back. One decision every day. Edit. Thank you all for the awards and comments. Honestly, I am just sharing something that's very true for me. If it has helped one other person, then that's great. Had no idea this would be interesting to anyone. Whenever I think about telling this story, it always comes out with a "that happened" type of feel, so I have kept it to myself. Every day in junior year of high school I would eat my lunch, stand up, and toss my trash toward the wide-mouthed trash can about 25 feet away. Every day, I would miss. I would then routinely do the walk of shame to get it all thrown away. This went on until the spring. It was April or May, I forget when exactly, and I stood up and threw my trash at the can. What do you know? After a few months I made it. It was a small victory, but I did an air fist and then made eye contact with a kid who was in the marching band with me. Apparently he had watched me do this ritual every day and was ready to celebrate with me, so he began to slow clap. Then, the rest of his table clapped, not knowing why, but it was high school so who cared. Then the effect spread until the entire cafeteria, about 1,500 students, were giving thunderous applause, only 2 of us knowing why. I took a bow and then sat down and everyone just went back to eating their lunch like nothing happened, because nothing really happened. It was a weird rush. The "that happened" feel of everyone clapping could definitely seem like a possibility to someone hearing the story. But lem tell you, at my high school if you were in the lunchroom and someone started clapping, nobody could know what they are clapping for and still the whole room would be clapping just for the fun of it. I have a ton of money. I've always worked whatever jobs, restaurant server, retail, etc. Boring kinda wage slave stuff. My living expenses are low, studio apartment and just pretty minimal spending. I live a comfortable life just as anyone would with my paychecks. but I got into investing and cryptocurrency online about 8 years ago and just got lucky. Spread out among multiple investments, I'm at almost $8 mil. Literally just kinda threw some extra money at stuff in the first couple years and was able to make really good returns. I live the same life I always did. Almost doesn't feel like I earned this money at all. No one knows. Parents, family, friends. I don't want anyone I care about to change their perspective of me because I have this money. Still working a simple job and living in the same studio. I'm comfortable and happy outside of the money. My debit card went through for a really large amount and the lady behind the counter had been being so smug and irritating for so long, and then she tried to deny my card because it wouldn't go through for that amount, and I asked her to just please try it. The look on her face when it went through was so satisfying. May I never make that larger purchase again. F that lady. The F does she know about your credit debit limit? Just swipe the damn card, Karen. Right? She had turned me away once before and demanded I bring a checkbook, but I forgot it and was basically begging her to try my card. I'm either really good at talking to people and pretty charismatic, or I'm a totally effing buffoon who makes everyone cringe. No in between. My co-workers don't know I was severely abused as a child, became a raging drug user and alcoholic, and moved out at age 17. Somehow went to college and have an extremely respectable job where I look normal, or at least I think I look passable. I have gotten to a place in my life that unless I tell someone, it is nearly impossible to tell I have autism. Same dude. Whenever I tell anyone I always get the "wow, I never would have known" reaction. I'm not a big fan of people saying that I don't look autistic though. I got you, bro. You look autistic. I can suck my own nips. I beat morbid obesity, which spiraled into a violent battle with anorexia, which I also beat. I eventually went on to get into modeling, weightlifting, and more. Compare pictures of me now with pictures of me from 5 years ago, with pictures of me from 10 years ago, and they all look like completely different people. I'm proud of you. Serious. I can count all of the syllables in every sentence during conversation. Then I can tell the person I was talking to the amount of syllables they had just said. It's due to a weird response from my social anxiety. I don't tell anyone I roll because it's just weird and out of place to do so. They would call me crazy. I even have some common sentences and phrases memorized so I can take solace in the fact that I already know the syllables. You are weird. I like you. Thank ya very much. 6. I can make the price of any stock go down simply by buying it. I can do that too. Well, I ain't telling you either. Nice try though. Every time I eat a popsicle, I bite it and chew it. It makes my teeth feel super cold and fresh. It doesn't hurt me at all. Be gone, foul demon. I pulled over when I saw a house on fire one morning. Ran over and a woman was crying that her child was inside. I ran into the smoke and fire, down a hallway, followed the crying, found the child and carried her outside to her mom. I waited with them until the FD arrived, then left, was late for work and got yelled at. Didn't say anything to anyone. I can build a Lego set in less years than it gives you to do so.